Boiler Band in the house, setting the tone for the Purdue spring football game at Ross-Ade Stadium. Third member of our broadcast team is Emily Eamon. She's down on the sidelines. Emily, you staying warm down there?
I'm trying my best, Chris. It's a little bit chilly out here, but I'm just excited for some spring football. And you guys mentioned Aiden O'Connell off the top. The sixth-year quarterback, he is entering that sixth season, but 2022 is the first year that he has that quarterback starting spot on lock. He entered in 2017 as a walk-on freshman. Very impressive to earn a scholarship, but back then he was 8th out of 9 on the depth chart. That year he was working mostly as a scout team wide receiver, not a scout team quarterback, and he entered his 5th year last season, not earning a starting spot until 5 games in. The quarterback went on to finish the season completing 72% of his passes, setting a new school record for completion percentage in a single season. And I spoke with offensive coordinator Brian Brom, who told me what makes O'Connell special is not only that he has next level accuracy, but he has a full understanding of their complex offense.
Thanks, Emily. His confidence is sky high right now, but early pressure on the first play from scrimmage from his teammates on the defensive line, and it's a defense that has got some depth, and that's one thing that the Purdue coaching staff is really excited about.
Yeah, they absolutely do. Looks like Jack Sullivan made a play there, and he's going to be the one that's asked to step up and replace and fill in those shoes for George Karloftis. Those are big shoes to fill.
Yeah, some star power departing Purdue on either side of the football, but on second down, ball kept on the ground to King Doru, and that has been a point of emphasis for Purdue this spring, emphasizing the run game.
They got to get the run game going. It was the worst in the Big Ten last year, 2.9 yards per carry. And it really is not necessarily the point of emphasis for this offense, as they're a passing-based offense, 60% throws.
So it's third down. Offensive points will be scored the conventional way, but there is a system in place for the defense to score points. And it is one-on-one here on the opening drive. O'Donnell's first throw of the spring game is blown dead, wearing the gold jersey. And even though the defense doesn't drag him to the ground, they're celebrating like it's a sack.
Count those. Absolutely right. If you're the defense, that's all you want to do is get home. And had pressure on this left side of the offensive line. Just collapse in the right side. Aiden trying to step up into the middle there. Very difficult to do. And nobody open down the field, not willing to turn the ball over.
So sacks are not a way that the defense can score points in this spring format for Purdue. However, 3-and-outs are. And that was a 3-and-out for the Purdue defense. So that's 3 points for the defense and an early 3-0 lead. Here are the scoring parameters, by the way. And again, you can skip over the offense. It's just traditional scoring. But 2 points for a defensive stop, 3 points for a 3-and-out or fourth down stop, 5 for a turnover, 5 for a safety, 7 for a defensive touchdown. Nick, if I played defense, I would want this scoring system implemented in the regular season as well.
That's exactly right. You could have a look at this if you were to eliminate special teams from football, but I don't think anybody's into that.
4 quarters and a continuous running clock, 4 15-minute quarters. And as Purdue's offense begins its second drive from the 25, Austin Burton is the quarterback, a UCLA transfer, and a valuable member of the quarterback room. There was some question as to whether or not he would return for this season. Purdue's coaching staff very glad that he did. And that pass into the flat, a little too tall for King Doru out of the backfield, second down.
Bringing a blitz off the slot there, forcing that outlet to the running back, King Doru. A couple of guys that I'm really excited to see that are out on the field right now. Mo Omenode from West Lafayette, Indiana, wearing number 92, and Scotty Humpage, a transfer from Murray State, who every coach that we talked to spoke high praise on Scotty Humpage.
We talked to the defensive coaching staff about Mo Omenode, and they said he's Mo from across the street, and that is not much of an exaggeration. He played high school football at West Lafayette High. That is less than a mile from Ross-Ade Stadium, as Doru carries up the middle and picks up Purdue's first down of the scrimmage.
Yeah, and we talked. Yeah, and Mo is. Here's a look at Mo Omenode, Mo from across the street. And Mo is 6 foot tall, only recruited by Arkansas State and Purdue, and he was passed up a lot because of his height. However, he plays incredibly hard, and the coaches love his tenacity, and he's really stood out to them this spring.
Only other offer was from Arkansas State, as Burton stands in the pocket and throws incomplete. Coverage applied on that pass attempt by Reese Taylor. Now, fans of football, college football in the Hoosier State might recognize that name. He wore the crimson and cream last year playing for the Indiana Hoosiers, transferred to the Boilermakers for this season.
Gotta love to see that in-state transfer for sure. Reese Taylor, all the coaches talked really about Reese Taylor, and they talked about Bryce Hampton, a transfer from Adams State. Reese has stood out, and what they've said about him is that he's better in person than they thought he was going to be based on the film, which is a great news for the Boilermakers.
Second down from the 39-yard line as Drew Biber is the tight end in motion. Burton guns it incomplete. Intended target Andrew Sawinski, redshirt sophomore from Indianapolis, number 26, and it's third down.
Left that one a little bit short, had some green grass behind him, and the cornerback undercut that. Love to see that play action pass, and that sets up a lot of Purdue's deep balls down the field. Aiden O'Connell's a tremendous deep ball thrower, one of the most accurate in college football, so they have to stick with the run. They have to sell it.
Aiden O'Connell handled the first drive for Purdue's offense. This is second-string quarterback Austin Burton on the second drive. There are 3 quarterbacks in the mix for the number 2 position. And this is Burton's turn on third down. Pressure off the edge. Burton is quarterback run capable, we were told, but the play is blown dead after Burton cleared the pocket.
And there's Scotty Humpich coming off the right side of the defense there, number 46. Making a play and swooping his hands through like you would if you're a defender, told not to hit the quarterback. It looks like he's going to claim a sack on that one. He's been an impact player, kind of an inside-out little swim move there, running by Austin Burton. Keep your hands off the quarterback. When depth is a concern, when health is a concern, and getting through this spring game with as many guys possible, you keep your hands off the quarterback, and that is beat into these guys early and often.
A pretty good start for the Purdue defense. Another stop, and 2 points on that stop because it was not a 3 and out, so it is 5-0. Purdue's defense leads the offense. Jeff Brom, hard to believe it's his 6th season already. Time's really flown by. Again, so much momentum for this Purdue program after a 9-win season. Most wins for the Boilermakers since 2003, which was a special year for a lot of reasons, but also because my broadcast partner Nick Hardwick was on that team.
It was a lot of fun that year. We had a lot of success, and it turns out that quite a few of us got drafted after that season.
Well, it wasn't that long ago. Might not have been the days of high definition yet, but we still do have some game film from you, Nick, from your days in the old gold and black. Those were, the Purdue offense in the Joe Tiller years, of course, known for its prolific passing numbers, but the offensive lines in your era were really good as well, as Samson James carries to begin the third drive for Purdue's offense, still looking for their first points. 3 drives and 3 quarterbacks for Purdue. This is Michael Alaimo, the redshirt freshman from Montvale, New Jersey.
Good to get Samson James going here. Indiana transfer, and he was at one point the 3rd highest recruit ever at Indiana University. And he has not had quite the success that they expected him to have, but hopefully he has it here at Purdue.
There's a jet sweep to Tyrone Tracy, the Iowa transfer. And for a little bit more on Purdue's culture, let's check in with Emily Eman once again.
Defensive coordinator Ron English told us earlier this week that when he got to Purdue last season, he didn't really know what to expect. He said that he loves to be in the locker rooms with his teams to get a good feel of what's going on. And one of the first things that he noticed in the locker room was that this team cares about each other. He said no guy on the team is a bad guy. They have guys who love football, who work hard, have good attitudes, and who like to practice. And English said that culture is critical in replicating the success this team had last season, where they had the first 9-win season in 18 years.
Emily, thank you. That's James off left tackle. He picks up a first down for Purdue.
And it's not that they need Purdue's run game to look like Wisconsin's run game. That's not what this offense is built around. But having more success in the run game is going to help them open up the passing game even more. And I can't imagine what Aiden O'Connell looks like if they can get at least an average run game going.
Alaimo, the quarterback. It's first down from near midfield. Deep middle, and the pass just a little too far for Zion Steptoe, who's not just a freshman, but an early enrollee, one of 5 early enrollees in the Purdue program who graduated high school early and got on campus in time for spring ball.
Now working this deep over here, Alaimo definitely had the right idea. He had space. Unfortunately, just a little bit off the mark, but it's really good to see these early enrollees out here competing.
On the slant pass, incomplete, looking for Tracy, the former Iowa Hawkeye, whose former team was beaten by Purdue last season, one of the 2 top 5 wins that Purdue racked up. 2 top 5 wins for the Boilermakers in the same season for the first time since 1960.
I think he must have seen Jacob Wahlberg or heard his footsteps coming. Wahlberg, they're really excited about him coming off of a torn quad in 2020. Good to see him back on the field.
All right, Nick, it's 3rd down and 10, and Purdue's offense has yet to complete a pass. 0 for 6. Alaimo finds his target wide open along the boundary, and that's the first completion for Purdue's offense. The pass was hauled in by Colin Sullivan.
Yeah, good job on that little out route there. Nice ball, good accuracy, soft coverage. And good job by Colin Sullivan dragging his toes. And the coaches say he's done a really good job and he is making progress, which is nice to see.
That's the point of spring, right?
Making progress, exactly right.
Ball on the other side of midfield as James carries inside the 35-yard line. Gain of 2 at 2nd down.
You know, to Emily's point earlier that Coach English was making about these guys care for each other, the locker room is really important here. Individually in the secondary, they didn't have great numbers or stats or grade out well on Pro Football Focus, but they performed well above what their individual grades are, I think because they cared so much and they hustled so hard.
Well, defensive coordinator Ron English told us flat out that he thought Purdue won some games last season simply because of their chemistry, as Doru runs into a wall for no gain on 2nd down.
Yeah, getting a look at some younger offensive linemen out here right now. Nayland Fox on the backside at that right offensive tackle. It's a very difficult block to make, especially for a young guy on a cutoff block trying to seal that edge. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to get inside there.
From the 35, it's 3rd down and 8. Running clock inside of 3 minutes to go in the first quarter. Alaimo checks it down. And the pass complete and then blown dead. Preston Terrell, the redshirt freshman from Brownsburg, Indiana, hauls it in, but short of a first down.
Yeah, they talked about Preston and how he's done a really good job and is also getting better. And I remember watching Preston play some high school football down in Brownsburg, Indiana. He's got a good future ahead of him.
10th play of this drive. 3rd for Purdue's offense. Redshirt freshman Michael Alaimo, in his 3rd season at Purdue, is the quarterback on this drive. That was Steptoe, the man in motion. Steptoe, the intended target, and the pass is incomplete. Emily Eman is standing by with a very special former Boilermaker.
I got a very special former Boilermaker right here, George Karloftis, who is preparing for the draft that's in less than 3 weeks now. What emotions come up when you think about that day?
Nervousness, excitement, excited to have a new home and all that kind of stuff. So I'm pumped. I'm ready to go.
Any nerves in there too with getting a new home, a little bit of movement in there?
A little bit, but it's just the next chapter of life, so I'm pumped.
Well, thinking about your last chapter of life at Purdue, when you think back on your career, what moment sticks out to you most?
I think that whole last season, my junior year, the 2021 season, we had some great wins, against Iowa, against Michigan State, and most importantly against IU, at the end for me. So that was a phenomenal season. You're really proud of the guys, and it was an honor to be a part of that.
Looking forward to this upcoming season and today, who are a few players that you're keeping your eyes on?
Obviously my brother, number 14, I'm excited to watch him and what he's got to do, what he's going to do out there, the whole defense really, because I know most of those guys, and even the offense, Aiden, one of my good friends and all that kind of stuff. So excited to watch the whole team, see what they got.
You mentioned your brother. What was your experience playing with him?
It was a whole lot of fun. It was a whole lot of fun playing with my brother, showing him the ropes, letting him find himself and all that kind of thing. So it was incredible. Once in a lifetime opportunity and experience.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Emily. Thank you, George. He beats a top 5 Iowa team. He beats a top 5 Michigan State team. Ross-Ade storms the field. But the win that he remembers the most and perhaps is most proud of, that win in the bucket game against Indiana.
That's all Boilermakers. That's
Yeah.
it. That's the picture that I've got on my wall at my house is us in a victory in the bucket game. Absolutely.
Well, Purdue's defense picked up another stop on 4th down, so 3 more points, and it is 8-0. Purdue's defense leads the offense. Here's some razzle dazzle. Pass complete to Tyrone Tracy with a bobble. It was thrown by Preston Terrell, the wide receiver. And Purdue's offense going into its bag of tricks to try and figure out its own defense.
I believe Cam Allen took it easy right there on Tyrone Tracy. He had a chance to absolutely light that thing up.
Final play of the first quarter. And a trick play for Purdue's offense. Tracy, you're absolutely right, Nick. Cam Allen gave his teammate a break. Second quarter coming up next from Ross-Ade Stadium in the Purdue spring football game. Free admission to Ross-Ade Stadium for the Purdue spring football game today. Marcus Bailey signing some autographs. I like those alternate Purdue helmets, by the way, with the railroad tracks down the middle. That's a sharp look.
Huge fan. Love the white ones that they wore for the astronaut recognition game. Those were my all-time favorites.
Alongside former center and 11-year NFL veteran Nick Hardwick, I'm Chris Foster. It's great to be with you. Emily Eamon is on our sidelines today at Ross-Ade Stadium. A chilly day, but lots to like about this Purdue football program going into 2022. On the direct snap to Tyrone Tracy to begin the second quarter, he is wrapped up by DeMarje Lewis, a returning contributor from last year's defensive line. And Purdue's defense has looked good. They've put up 8 points against the offense through the first quarter.
Yeah, running a blitz there. And Tyrone Tracy is a player that's really intriguing. All the coaches talked about him coming from Iowa. Had his most productive season 3 ago at Iowa with 36 catches and over 300 yards. And he's a guy that may fill that Jackson Anthrop role here at Purdue.
Aiden O'Connell back at the controls for his second drive. Chucks it long, and the pass incomplete, and a flag on the play. Terrell was the intended target, and Reese Taylor committed pass interference.
Yeah, I like Aiden O'Connell, one of the most efficient, accurate deep ball passers in the game.
Andrew Special is our referee today.
Defense number 1, 15-yard penalty for the previous spot, automatic, first down.
Fade. Yeah, cleared, unable to turn around, get to it. Reese Taylor's a guy that the coaches are really excited about. A former 2017 Mr. Indiana football quarterback at Ben Davis High School. So really making that transition, putting his athleticism to the use. And they think he's going to be a solid addition to this backfield on the defensive side.
Purdue's defense practices not only interceptions but also long ball defense. That's something that the coaching staff really stresses day in and day out during the season and in spring ball. On first down after the penalty, O'Connell guns it over the middle for Terrell. Incomplete. That's Bryce Hampton, a player that you mentioned earlier, Nick. And here's another player that we heard about from the Purdue coaching staff, number 96, Corday Sidnor. He's a redshirt freshman, 6'4", 265, and Ron English, the co-defensive coordinator, said he's actually bigger than that.
Yeah, he's long, he's rangy, he's very athletic, and he's a guy that Ron English said is going to be a real guy, and football folks know exactly what that means. He's a football player now.
Again, playing that defensive end position, once filled by George Karloftis, and O'Connell sails that one incomplete. Tracy was open, and it's third down.
Yeah, bringing the blitz off the slot and had Tracy right up the seam there.
And the blitz has been effective for Purdue's defense today.
He just missed him up the seam there. Tyrone Tracy and Aiden O'Connell unable to connect. And even though it's a spring game, he's still going to want that throwback.
Doru is the tailback. Defensive backfield blitz, and the pass incomplete in the direction of Sullivan again for Purdue. And it's 4th down.
Coming back with that exact same blitz. Looked like I popped my head up and we were on a replay in real time. Taking deep shots from what we would call the high red zone here. Now Purdue, they are going to, in the second half, get to work a lot in the red zone, and that's an area that needs drastic improvement for them. So I'm assuming that Coach Braum wanted to take those shots, work in that high red zone specifically as a way to attack and be efficient there with the quarterback that they have.
Purdue's defense gets 2 more points for stopping Purdue's offense, holding them to without a score. Second quarter, we're playing 4 quarters today, a running clock throughout. When we get to the final 2 minutes of the second quarter, Purdue's offense will simulate some 2-minute drill situations and scenarios, all part of the orchestrated afternoon for Purdue's spring football game, the culmination of spring practice. And look, this is a Purdue offense that is very much based around timing in the passing game. Haven't really seen quarterback and wide receiver in sync so far, and with timing being such an important aspect, are you surprised that maybe that the timing just isn't quite there at this stage of the season?
I would imagine during this spring it's been very rough on both sides of the ball, and yes, 8 defensive backs are out for this game, so you would think the offense would have a strategic advantage there. However, the top receivers for Purdue are out,
yes,
which makes it very difficult. Milton Wright, TJ Sheffield, Brock Thompson, who we talked about, had 123 plus catches, had 1,500 yards, 16 touchdowns. They're very capable. They've worked a ton with Aiden, had a lot of success with him. And now we've got new guys in trying to figure out the timing, where they're supposed to be on certain routes. And so that's all coming together, and that just takes time.
Brady Allen is the quarterback for Purdue to begin this offensive drive. And his first pass to Biber is complete. Brady Allen, 4-star recruit, one of the highest recruits in program history. Certainly many Purdue fans hope he is the future of the program, at least at the position. Indiana Mr. Football in the previous fall, and in company with Kyle Orton in terms of his recruiting ranking. And certainly he wears Kyle Orton's number, and Purdue fans hope he has even close to the career that Orton had. Emily Eamon's got a little bit more.
Yeah, not only are quarterback Brady Allen and defensive tackle Joe Strickland 4-star prospects from Indiana, but they also played each other in the Indiana 3A State Championship last November and are now roommates here at Purdue. After Allen received his state championship ring, he made sure to show it off to that roommate, but he said it's all love between the two. Strickland says he cooks while Allen takes out the trash, even if Strickland has to remind him once or twice.
Well, it sounds like they got a good thing going. And it's only the spring. You can imagine how that relationship is going to continue to bud going forward, but there's always bragging rights.
Yeah, I was going to say, how many times has Brady Allen showed him the ring?
Right. Every time he's taking out the trash, like, oh, sorry.
Hold on, let me get my ring on before I take the trash out for you.
From the pistol, Biber, the man in motion, it's second down. And on the ground, it's Caleb Leahy, the redshirt sophomore from Bismarck, Illinois.
Got a chance to sit at an Indiana Football Coaches Association conference and listen to Brady Allen's offensive coordinator and head coach from Gibson Southern and watch and learn about their offense. And it's not near as complex as the offense is here, but it was a spread offense, 4 and 5 wide, nearly every play. They did not run the ball hardly at all there, and it gave him a ton of reps learning to read coverages and find his men.
Brian Braum, Purdue's offensive coordinator, has said they have thrown Brady Allen into the fire. They have given him full reins of the offense. That pass is broken up, incomplete. Intended target was Terrell. And coverage applied that time by Hayden Ellinger, redshirt sophomore from Fort Wayne.
And I think Preston Terrell's getting Coach Stepp right here to come back to the football, sitting on that comeback, and the ball was there, just waiting on it a little bit too long. Got to go make the action happen.
Let's go back down to Emily.
I have David Bell here right on the sideline. David, as you prepare for the upcoming draft, what emotions come up for you?
It's a lot of emotions. You know, what I've been through here at Purdue, back in high school, and just for me to finally get that opportunity to play in the NFL, it's definitely a dream come true, something I've been dreaming about since I was about 6 years old. And here in a few days or here in a few weeks, you know, I hope hopefully my name will get called.
If you hear your name gets called, what do you think will happen in your head?
I don't know. You know, I tell myself I don't want to cry, but, you know, I really can't hold my emotions, so that may be one of the first times I cry. You know, I know my family's going to be very excited with me, with all the accomplishments that I have, and, you know, I'm just, you know, be blessed.
If you do hear your name called, will you be surrounded by your family? What's your draft setup going to be?
Most definitely. So I'm going to have my grandparents, my mother, and about 50 to 75 of my closest friends there, you know, to help support me and get me through that process.
50 to 75 of your closest friends. Who would you say on the team right now you're closest with that you're watching out here today?
He's not playing currently because he's injured, but Brock Thompson, and also running back King Daru.
Brock's going to have some big shoes to fill with you leaving. What have you seen out of him that could make him fill those shoes eventually?
Oh, I know he's going to fill those shoes. You know, I've been on Brock always since high school. You know, he just had a few injuries last year, so he couldn't reach his full potential. But when he gets back healthy this year, you know, he's definitely going to be one of the top receivers in the Big Ten, if not in the nation.
David, thank you so much.
No problem. Have a good one.
Emily, David, thank you very much. There was an interception on the last play for Purdue's defense. 5 points for Purdue's defense. Austin Burton was the quarterback. You can see there was some action in the backfield there. And Chris Jefferson, the fifth-year senior from Ohio, made the pick.
Who Ron English called the MVP of the Music City Bowl.
I remember that.
Based on that controversial stop in overtime at the goal line. Huge play for the Boilermakers to secure the victory. That play had 3 separate transactions in the backfield. Long development play.
Michael Alaimo is the quarterback, and on the pitch to Tyrone Tracy. He's met by Jacob Wahlberg, whose coaching staff said Wahlberg had a good spring, and we've noticed number 37 make a couple of plays in the first half.
Yeah, absolutely downhill, getting after it, physical. You like to see that. They've got some big shoes to replace at linebacker. Jalen Alexander leaving, hoping to get drafted. I've been reading anywhere from 5th to 7th round, late round, maybe undrafted free agent. Solid football player, over 100 tackles last year.
On 2nd and 11, quick hitter, and the pass was bobbled and caught. Ben Van Noord with the completed pass, and we'll check in once again with Emily.
Interceptions have been big for this Purdue team. Defensive coordinator Ron English says he preaches 3 words to his guys: catch the ball. Last season, he made a tape of every single play where his players could have intercepted the ball but swatted it down or didn't make an effort. And it might have taken some embarrassment, but his players finally understood that message. And last season, it led the team to the 3rd most interceptions in the league. And he said they had a lot more left on the table to bring into this upcoming season.
Good stuff, Emily. Thank you. And the secondary a little bit depleted for Purdue in this spring game. On 3rd down, it's Samson James out of the backfield. Brought down around the 33-34 yard line. And Purdue's offense will soon be in the 2-minute drill portion of the second quarter. In fact, they might be there now, as a matter of fact, because they have stopped the clock.
Probably want to give both units, the 1s and the 2s, a shot at the 2-minute drill. Looks like they're rallying up on the sideline around Coach Brown. The defense must love this scoring system here.
Certainly, and they got to love the scoreboard as well, up 17-0. Purdue's defense has gotten points for 3 and out, a defensive stop, turnovers, safeties, and defensive touchdowns. You may have noticed the second quarter clock change to 1:25. That's not how much time there is left in the half, but this unit is going to get a minute 25 to simulate a 2-minute drill type scenario and move the ball downfield. And whatever the scenario, Purdue's offense wants to score some points before halftime. It could be a one-sided locker room in terms of the trash talk at halftime based on how the defense has performed today.
Yeah, I know it's a spring game. You still got to go out and compete.
Absolutely.
You still want to win. All these guys are highly competitive men who look at that scoreboard. And yes, they have roommates on the other side of the ball who may have a wager over a meal or something. By the way, defensive line coach
Ron English addressing the team.
Let's go. Hey, who up? Let's go. Hey, let it go. Hey, gang on 3. 1, 2, 3.
So Ron English left the huddle, and Purdue's defense broke it down the rest of the way. And I think Purdue's defense was one of the underrated components of the team's success last year. They were really good in the red zone. They were really good stopping teams on 4th down. They were hardly penalized. Really strong unit on that side of the football for Jeff Brom and company. So the 2-minute drill portion of the second quarter begins with Aiden O'Connell at quarterback, and he fires incomplete on 1st down, flushed out of the pocket by a host of white jerseys, including Corday Sidnor, who we talked about earlier in this quarter.
Yeah, Chris, up until that Music City Bowl where it was just a wide-open game with a ton of guys out, giving up 45 points to Tennessee, they had only allowed 20.5 points per game. Coming into that contest, very strong performance on the defensive side, and they really bolstered them up throughout the year. And you have to have that. As good as your offense is, you have to have a great defense to get those games one that you should win.
King Doru open out of the backfield, and he tiptoes up the sideline and steps out at the 36. 3rd down coming up. Purdue's defense has 20 points in this game, and they were really good under Jeff Brom in their 2 winning seasons in particular. Look at the discrepancy, only 21.5 points allowed under Jeff Brom's 2 winning seasons, about 9 points more than that in the 3 losing seasons. And O'Donnell throws a pick. Intercepted by Antonio Stevens, the redshirt sophomore from Nashville, who missed all of last season after suffering a leg injury in the previous offseason. Great to see him back and making an impact, and he picks up 5 more points for the Purdue defense.
Yeah, and that's the one thing that quarterback coach, offensive coordinator Brian Braun talked about with Aiden O'Connell was that you really wanted to eliminate some of those turnovers. When we asked about him, he talked about his upside, but then said, where can he improve? And he talked about eliminating some of those interceptions. And you don't want to hold a quarterback back, but you do want to raise that floor, if you will, by eliminating some of the turnovers. And there's an example of one. Had 11 interceptions last year, 28 touchdown passes, which you're really excited about. And some of those interceptions, Chris, came in the red zone. And I think part of it is because they couldn't get the run game going down there and really struggled to balance that out. So you had a lot of guys back in coverage, and red zone turnovers will absolutely crush you as an offense and a football team.
So that was the 2-minute drill for the first unit offensively, and it ended in a pick for Purdue's defense. So we'll re-rack and do another 2-minute scenario here with the second unit. And Austin Burton is the quarterback. Nearly intercepted again. Intended target on the play was Van Noord. And that was Jack Albers,
that's right,
who's a quarterback playing cornerback defensively for Purdue. One of the wrinkles we expected to see in the spring game. Purdue is so depleted at the defensive back position that they are lining up quarterbacks on the defensive side of the football. 2nd and 10. Burton in trouble and finds James, but the play is blown dead, and that brings up 3rd down.
Go ahead and call that one a sack. How about Jack Albers? I think he didn't make an early break on that, maybe to take it easy on his brethren quarterback, but he saw that one, and I do wonder if Ron English was on the sideline saying, catch the ball.
Defensive coordinator Ron English said he was very obnoxious with the Purdue quarterbacks playing defense, chirping them when they dropped would-be interceptions. And another sack by Purdue's defense, as Ron English has got a lot to be pleased about in this Purdue scrimmage. The offense called a timeout.
Offensive line really struggled through that last series there. Some young players still developing. 92, Mo Omenode getting great pressure up the middle on that one.
Scotty Humpich was in the mix as well.
Another guy they're really excited about out there, transfer from South Carolina, did make an impact last year in his first year here. Joe Anderson,
that's right,
out on the field and helping compress that pocket. Really nowhere to go for Austin Burton.
So an impressive performance by Purdue's defense in the first half of the spring game. We were told that this was a Purdue defense that would have some depth going into the fall. They were without some key pieces in the spring game. Lawrence Johnson, Kydron Jenkins on the defensive line. Marvin Grant, Corey Trice, Jamari Brown in the defensive backfield are not playing today, but all figure to be key pieces when Purdue laces it up for real on September 1st against Penn State in the opener of the 2022 regular season. 4th down and a mile in this 2-minute drill. And another sack as Burton is touched. And that is Yanni Karlaftis, George Karlaftis' younger brother, who gets to the quarterback.
I was wondering if Yanni was going to make a play after George said he was really excited to watch him. Of course, Boilermaker fans are excited to see the younger brother of George out here. Good handwork there, working the edge. Excellent job. Going against a guy, Cam Craig, who has some experience, has some started the bowl game at the Music City Bowl. Over at right tackle, Eric Miller was filling in for Greg Long on the left side. So he has some experience.
End of the first half, and Purdue's defense leads the Purdue offense 28-0. Purdue honors its seniors at halftime of the spring game when we return from West Lafayette. Welcome back to Purdue University. Halftime of the football spring game, 28-0. The defense leads the offense. Let's go down to the field to our reporter, Emily Eman. Emily, you've got some special guests with you right now.
I got some superstars with me. We're going to start out with Juwan Bentley. You're a linebacker here back in the day. You played for the Patriots. Won a Super Bowl with them. Tell me about that run.
It was awesome. It was awesome. You really can't mimic it. It's hard to explain. It's kind of like you had to be there. But it was definitely an awesome time. But right now I'm here at Purdue. I'm excited to be back, seeing all the guys again.
All right, we're going to move on to our next guy over here, Marcus Bailey. You played for the Bengals, a linebacker here. How does it feel to be back?
It feels outstanding. We had a lot of good memories here, had a lot of good games. So it's always good to come back, drive around campus, get a little bit of that nostalgic feeling. Seeing some of the places that I used to be at and used to go to class, walk around, and come over here to the football facility, talking to old coaches and old players. It kind of brings it all full circle, and that's kind of what football is all about, So
that's what it's all about. We love it. And then our last guy here, Bryson Hopkins. You're coming off a big Super Bowl win. How has your life changed since then?
My life hasn't changed. You just walk around a little bit more happier, and people call you champ and stuff. Juwan knows how it feels and everything. It's a great experience, and I'm just glad to be back to see all these pretty faces around here, and everybody's happy for me, and I'm glad to have them on my side. So yeah.
All right, guys. Thank you so much, and it's good to see you back here at Purdue.
Emily, thank you. Come on, Bryson. We know your life changed after that big Super Bowl win. Congratulations. Nick Hardwick, Chris Foster's. It's way too cold for short sleeves, but here we are. I guess you're always wearing sleeves, though. But
come with your own. You don't have to bring them.
That's exactly right. All right, Purdue's offense. I know it's just a scrimmage.
Yes.
Not trying to overreact here, but they didn't score any points in the first half.
Yeah, I'd like to generate something to go home with, to feel good about leaving for the spring and coming back into training camp. Of course, everyone forgets about this as soon as it's done, but you still want to go home, you want to compete, and you want to look good every single time that you go out onto the football field, and they have yet to do that today.
And again, this is a Purdue passing attack that is predicated on timing, and it makes you appreciate just how much goes into a fully functioning offense in the regular season. Here's the scoring system, by the way. Traditional scoring for the offense, although that has not been applied yet. The defense has scored in a medley of ways. A defensive stop, 2 points. A 3-and-out or a fourth down stop is 3 points. The defense got a couple of those in the first half. Turnovers, we've seen that, have not seen any safeties or defensive touchdowns. But we begin the third quarter of a running clock with Michael Alaimo at quarterback, looking for Terrell in the end zone, and the pass was nearly intercepted by Bryce Hampton.
Got a 3-quarterback set on that one.
That's right. We had Austin Burton spread wide along with Aiden O'Connell. It was Alaimo who threw the ball incomplete, nearly picked.
Threw it into triple coverage. That ball most likely is going to be nearly picked. I love Jeff Brom's creativity. There were certain games last year where it really stood out. Michigan State in particular was one of the finest called football games that I've seen in a long time.
So this drive arbitrarily starts at the 30-yard line, and King Doru is wrapped up maybe a yard behind the line of scrimmage. Cam Allen in the defensive backfield made the play.
DeMarge Lewis getting good penetration against Gus Hartwig, returning center, 2-year starter from Zionsville, Indiana. DeMarge making that penetration really disruptive in the backfield, setting him up for his linebacker to make a play behind him.
Third and long. Clean pocket for Alaimo. That changes. Sidnor got to the quarterback, and that counts as a sack for Corday Sidnor, redshirt freshman. Ron English, the co-defensive coordinator, calls him a future star.
He's got all the tangibles that you can want. He's long, he's rangy, he's lengthy, and he's very athletic and can make some very big plays. Looking for an impact out of him. That is the position that Purdue really has to have. Be their impact player is the Leo position, which is really a hybrid between a defensive end and an outside linebacker, as Purdue plays this Gus Bradley cover 3 style defense where you can switch back and forth pretty readily between a 4-3 and a 3-4, and Sidnor is going to be that impact player this year.
3 more points for the defense after the 3-and-out stop. The timing of the third quarter, by the way, will be akin to a normal game quarter. The first half was played under a running clock. This third quarter is like a standard game. Austin Burton is under center now. Sullivan gets the jet sweep and cuts his way to the 20-yard line. And they mark him down at the 25. Must have stepped out of bounds, and it's second down.
Great way to help facilitate that run game. Look at like a zone run coming to the right and coming back with that jet sweep. It really slows down the backside defensive end linebacker, and so they can't crash so hard and make that play on that zone away. So it really does set up that play for the future.
Burton from the gun now. James the tailback, and Burton guns to Terrell, complete. First down for Purdue's offense, and Terrell thudded down by Allen at the 7-yard line.
Really good timing on that one between Burton and Terrell. Looks like they've worked on this quite a bit. A little out route comeback, and Terrell just making a play after the catch. That's what you need to see.
Top 6 wide receivers for Purdue are not active today for the spring game. But here's the first and goal for Purdue's offense. Tracy in motion. Burton steps up. He can run. He throws to the end zone. Instead, it is caught for a Purdue touchdown. Sullivan with the grab, and the Boiler offense is on the board.
It's a tough throw there, right there for Austin Burton. Coming to his left, working, receiver sits very nicely. Play action pass. Purdue is committed to the play action pass. Does a nice job working to space. Receiver does a nice job just sitting down, making the play in the end zone. And the offense gets on the board.
My broadcast partner Nick Hardwick breathing a sigh of relief. Former center. Even though it's a spring game, bragging rights on the line with the guys across the locker room from you. Point after attempt by Mitchell Finneran is good. Colin Sullivan with the touchdown grab. He caught one pass in the regular season last year for Purdue. He's got a touchdown in the spring game. 12:43 to go in the third. And it's 31-7 in favor of Purdue's defense.
You can't get skunked.
Right. Absolutely.
By your own team. Absolutely.
Heaven forbid.
And I always thought these games, the Fan Fest games, the spring game, the ones where you're playing your old teammates, even games where I got the opportunity to play guys from Purdue in the National Football League, you still wanted to show out and be your best because you had to interact with them more often than you interacted with just some random player from Wisconsin or Ohio State.
Here's the regular season schedule coming up for Purdue. And Nick, we were looking at this earlier. It's hard to get past the first game just because it's a Thursday night, under the lights, Penn State coming into town. What a way to start the season with so many expectations.
Yeah, you're not easing into this season, which I have to imagine helped put some urgency onto spring ball and the preparation that was going on here at Purdue, knowing that the Nittany Lions are on the schedule right away. And then later in the season, you've got Wisconsin at Wisconsin. Camp Randall, one of the best environments in all of football, not just college football. And Purdue hasn't beat Wisconsin since 2003.
2003 in a game you played in, Nick. Michael Alaimo is the quarterback. Here's Terrell, who throws, looking for Colin Sullivan again, but it was hauled in by the tight end, Ben Buechel. The redshirt sophomore gets to the end zone on a 30-yard completion from wide receiver Preston Terrell.
It's a really nice ball by Preston here. Working on this around, coming into space. Nice job by Buechel just tracking and finding the end zone at the end.
Buechel on the tight end depth chart that is, of course, fronted by Payne Durham and Garrett Miller. Buechel from New Berlin, Wisconsin.
Really excited about both Payne Durham and Garrett Miller. I think they're fantastic tight ends. When you watch Purdue play, those two stand out in particular to me.
Albers with the hold, Finneran with the point after attempt. The long snapper is Nick Zucchino as the core of specialists returns from last season for Purdue. And it's 31-14. Two scoring drives for the offense in the third quarter, albeit a one-play drive from the 30 a moment ago.
Let's see what Coach Braun did. He really wanted to set up this second half for a big comeback from the offense.
Going to be a nail-biter, I think.
Going to come down to it. Back to those tight ends. I think both of them have a great future. Payne Durham, the unquestioned leader of not just the offense, but this entire team, and that was echoed through the coaching staff. And it's fairly unusual for a tight end to be that guy, but they said he's uber positive, always optimistic, a fantastic leader, works really hard. He's a tough football player, great hands, big body, 6'5", 250. He can block in line, and he can make the plays you need to down the field. Garrett Miller's a really exciting one. Had 20 catches last year, athletic, a little bit more mobile and agile than Payne Durham is, and I do believe they're going to be in more two tight end sets this year.
Payne Durham's been working on his gritty in the offseason. That pass is incomplete. A backward pass, so it is a live ball, and it is picked up and returned for a touchdown. Joe Anderson, a player that you profiled, Nick, with the defensive score for Purdue's defense, their first of the game. Give him 7.
Backward pass attempt to the tackle, the right tackle, Marcus Bowe on this one. Didn't catch the pass. Caught a heater from Alaimo.
Let's just double check and make sure this went backwards. Sure looks like it to me.
That is a backwards pass. And it's always hard throwing to an offensive lineman. Of course, he's athletic for an offensive lineman, Marcus Bowe.
That's defensive coordinator Ron English.
Love the energy of Ron English. Marcus Bowe, who was the intended receiver on that one, lined out as the second wide receiver. It's very difficult to throw a dart to an offensive lineman in the middle of a game. Of course, you just play pitch and catch, a guy can catch the ball, but put him in a game situation, a scrimmage situation, that thing has to be incredibly accurate. And Marcus Bowe, redshirt freshman, and getting the opportunity to run with the ones a lot during spring ball here as Eric Miller is out, and they're honestly looking for him to step up and be a contributor this year.
That was not the best display of Marcus Bowe's skill set, but the Purdue coaching staff very optimistic on his upside as Tyrone Tracy carries out of the backfield and is whistled down at the 23-yard line at the point of first contact.
That's a good run by Tyrone Tracy. And yes, he came in as a receiver. He was most productive at Iowa as a receiver. He's got excellent speed, inline moves, and the ability to play both receiver and running back. And we talked about filling that Jackson Anthrop role from last year. He can do that, which is going to be a critical position because Jackson was a great playmaker for the Boilermakers in 2021.
He sure was. On second and short, here's Tracy, who stumbles his way across the line of scrimmage on the handoff from Brady Allen, the early enrollee freshman and four-star recruit.
There's some unique challenges from running a gun offense, and generating a run game from the shotgun is very difficult in my opinion, because especially with an offset back, what does the defense have to worry about? Usually they only have to worry about the running back running opposite of where he's lined up because he has to come receive the football.
Third and short, Allen looking for the end zone. The pass is caught for a touchdown by Zion Steptoe, a classmate of Brady Allen's, and perhaps a future connection between two young Purdue football players.
Look at the early enrollees getting after it here. Brady Allen, this was a great throw. Solid pass protection, wash him down by the right tackle there. Good placement on the football. Nice catch by Zion Steptoe to secure the pass.
Got to be a wide receiver with a last name like that. Steptoe.
That's exactly right.
The 2022 recruiting class, 20 signees, 5 are already on campus. Ranked 9th in the Big Ten, but 37th in all of FBS. And looking at where these recruits are coming from, you've really started to notice Purdue make some inroads in the state of Indiana, which is crucial. You got to win the in-state recruiting battles if you're Purdue.
That's it. In football, in all sports, it starts with winning your division, winning your conference. In the recruiting game, you have to win your state. You can't let the best talent from the state of Indiana, which is turning into a good football state, leave the state and go to Ohio States and Michigans and Wisconsin. You have to keep them here. You most certainly, if you're Purdue, have to win the recruiting battle over Indiana University.
And Indiana had a down year last year, but they were decimated by injuries. And Tom Allen, like Jeff Brom up here in West Lafayette, has got a good cultural bedrock in place down in Bloomington. You'd love to see, speaking objectively, both teams on the rise. It would make for an even more compelling bucket game at the end of the season.
Absolutely. And when you know your rival is very strong, it makes you work a little bit harder every single day, because that's the one game, as we talked about earlier, that if you win that one game, your season is okay.
That's right. George Karloftis said as much in his sideline conversation with Emily Eamon earlier. Michael Alaimo out of the pistol. James picks up the blitz. And Alaimo's pass is hauled in by Tracy for a touchdown.
Beautiful pass there from Brady Allen. Picking up Tracy on that over. Had a lot of space ahead of him. Got to get the gritty in. Tyrone Tracy. There he is on the deep over. Safety picks him up just a touch late. Standing in there tall. Excellent job by Brady Allen. Delivered a strike and a touchdown catch. Makes it easy, I guess, when the safety is a backup quarterback, Michael Alaimo. Or was that Alaimo at the quarterback?
Alaimo was the quarterback. There you go.
I blew that one.
No, it's all good. It's all good.
That was a beautiful ball by Michael Alaimo.
It really was, as Finneran's point after attempt is good. 38-28 defense over the offense. The USFL is starting on April 16th. Here's the inaugural matchup, New Jersey versus Birmingham. Saturday, 7:30 Eastern on Fox and on NBC. So spring football, little USFL. It's a 365-day sport, football is. And here are some notable Big Ten players who are going to be playing in the newest pro league. Shea Patterson, Clayton Thorson, some good quarterbacks. Stevie Scott, who had a great career at Indiana. Mike Weber, Will Likely. That's a great group. Fun to see those guys furthering their pro careers. As we'll check in once again with Emily.
Well, Iowa transfer redshirt junior Tyrone Tracy might be new to this team, but he's not new with some of the personnel. He actually played Little League with Brock Thompson, who was their wide receiver when they were young, and DB Reese Taylor, who actually played quarterback back in his day.
Thanks, Emily. Austin Burton flushed out of the pocket by Branson Dean, and he throws it incomplete. Heck of an effort by Ben Van Noord on the sideline.
It's got to feel good for Tyrone Tracy, Avon, Indiana kid, coming back home, being around some familiar faces, and I'm sure he's very comfortable with this Purdue football team.
Had a great high school career in Indiana.
He's a very good athlete, and he's going to be a great weapon for Purdue this year. Along with Deion Burks, who we haven't seen out here.
That's a good point.
But the Browns spoke very highly of him.
Samson James, gash run play. Inside the 15, and they mark him down. He was touched by Cam Allen. As you can see, it's a spring football game, not going full out. We were told this by head coach Jeff Brom going in, that a lot of plays would be more wrap-up plays as opposed to all-out tackling plays. But a good run by Samson James, and it's red zone running that Purdue's offense really wants to improve upon as well, so they're not quite as one-dimensional when they get down close to the goal line.
That's exactly right.
From inside the 15, and on the jet sweep, Alex Maxwell plants his foot and gets inside the 10, second down.
Yeah, Purdue last year, 1.2 yards per rush when they got down to the red zone. Second to last in the Big Ten. Not effective and not threatening. And you at least have to have the threat of a good run. I've seen a couple of jet sweeps now, and if they can get their run game up in the red zone, it's going to open everything up for them, and they'll be able to get their scoring percentage higher, up from the 47.4% that it was last year.
James is dropped in the backfield by DeMarje Lewis, 6'3", 300 pounds.
That's a big boy, run stopper. DeMarje Lewis, he's put a dent in the middle of this offensive line multiple times already today. Hopefully he can have an impact during the season. You know, one of the challenges with Aiden O'Connell is he's not athletic and he's not a threat to run the ball. So you get these zone read offenses where the quarterback is a threat. It draws an extra defender into the box, which then opens up the pass game behind it. Purdue doesn't have that option.
Austin Burton, the quarterback, after a punt. Incomplete. Colin Sullivan, the intended target, and Reese Taylor, the former Hoosier, in coverage. Fourth down.
Which is why Purdue saw Austin Burton come in multiple times last year in the red zone to try to generate some of that zone read ability to threaten the defense. They've got to get Austin to be able to throw the ball and complete the passes that he needs to complete if they're going to have that duality about them in the red zone.
First field goal attempt of the spring game for Finneran, a 30-yarder. Albers to hold. Zucchino, the long snapper. This to make it a touchdown game. Wind appeared to die down right as Finneran kicked it, and the field goal is no good. Well, right before we went on the air today, we were unfortunately greeted with tragic news that shook the entire football world and especially the Big Ten. We learned of the passing of former Ohio State quarterback Dwayne Haskins, who was struck by a car and tragically perished today. Ohio State's football Twitter account put out this very moving tweet. The Ohio State Athletic Department released a statement as well. Haskins had a fantastic career in Columbus, and his coach, Urban Meyer, with a very moving message as well, speaking really on behalf of college football fans across the world heartbroken to hear this news. Dwayne Haskins Jr., 24 years old, a fantastic football career, a fantastic life as a son, teammate, and friend, and gone way too soon at the tender age of 24. Our thoughts and prayers with Dwayne's family, Buckeye Nation, the entire Big Ten, and football fans everywhere. Purdue's defense leads Purdue's offense by 10. Middle stages of the third quarter. Former center Nick Hartwick is with me. We have Emily Eman on the sidelines. I'm Chris Fosters. It's great to be with you. A chilly spring day, but still optimism in the air for head coach Jeff Brom and the Purdue Boilermakers program. They've got momentum from last season. They've got depth on their roster, but you can't take anything for granted in college football, especially in the Big Ten. And last season's success, we see it time and time again, really does not mean anything when you kick off to start the new year.
No, exactly. 2 years ago, Indiana University had a very successful year. Everyone had high expectations of that team last year, unfulfilled. Purdue, coming off of a down year 2 years ago, really rose to the occasion last year, 9-4. But they have to grab that momentum that they have on their side right now. We talked about it early. Jeff Brom got a contract extension through 2027. Got big stadium renovation plans coming. They're doing everything they can from the administrative side to help capture that momentum, but the team still has to win football games. And one thing that really stands out to me is the depth of this team. And when you have a good, deep roster, you've got the ability to win even if some of your starters go down, which we shouldn't say if when we talk about football. It's when your starters go down, because there's a 100% injury rate in football. And so you have a deep roster built to withstand some of those struggles and get you through the games that you should win, and then you hope to have a game like Iowa and Michigan State last year.
15 starters return as the third quarter continues, with Brady Allen at quarterback, and Samson James is strung out and dropped by Antonio Stevens behind the line of scrimmage. We have once again implemented a running clock in the third quarter now. Stevens has made a couple of plays. He had an interception in the first half. Now this TFL, tackle for a loss.
Very good. And that was his play to make, tracking Samson James all the way across the line of scrimmage. Long run to get there. Set up, got his shoulders up the field, made the play.
Second and long. That's a dart over the middle to Steptoe. You can see why Brady Allen's got a 4-star pedigree. That was a good ball. And from football today to softball tomorrow, the Boilermakers are in action against Maryland, noon Eastern, 11 Central on the softball diamond. Don't miss it. Big Ten Network, Fox Sports app. From the gun on third and short, Allen with a pitch off to James. He did follow his block. It was Steptoe who set the edge, and a first down for Purdue.
Going with an option look there from Brady Allen. I don't imagine that he's going to be carrying the ball too much in his career here at Purdue. 6'6", 210. Probably got the frame to put on another 15, 20 pounds easy. He is a very good athlete, has the ability to run. But when you have an arm like he does, you don't really want to get that injured running the football.
Miscommunication. And James is smothered at the line of scrimmage. Second down coming up. That's what's just going to happen when you're a true freshman and you are thrown from a high school offense right into a full-blown Big Ten offense, not to mention one that is as intricate in the passing game as Purdue's is, but they've said that he has been a real gamer about handling everything they've thrown at him. And on another draw to Samson James, forward progress this time to the 47-yard line, and it's third down.
Working the tight end across the formation there on an inside zone. What I like to see Purdue doing here in the last two plays, they've been out of the pistol formation. I really believe that if they can stay in the gun but work that pistol, it's going to allow them to work both sides of that line of scrimmage and make the defense defend both sides, which is going to open up the run game.
Allen into the flat, shoestring grab not made by Steptoe. Tough play. That brings up 4th down, and the defense will earn some points for that stop.
Got space on that one to Steptoe. Look to me, wide side of the field, far hash. That's a play that could be a big threat for a pick 6 if the defender jumps all over that thing. So he shorted that one, but there was room for that throw there.
2 points for Purdue's defense to go up 40-28. You played for the Joe Tiller era Boilermakers, and the catchphrase was basketball on grass. And here we are at Ross-Ade Stadium, right across the street from Mackey Arena. Do you see any similarities between the offense that you ran and another pass-heavy attack led by Jeff Brom?
I do, and that's what Purdue football fans are very familiar in watching. And I do believe when you're talking about the athletes that Purdue can recruit versus, say, a Michigan, Ohio State, or a Wisconsin, this is the most favorable for their long-term success, is spreading them out and winning through the air. Now, you have to have excellent quarterbacks to be able to do that. Purdue has been able to recruit excellent wide receivers over the years to be able to help execute that. Now, if they can get the run game going just a touch, it's going to bolster everything up. But yes, I do believe in being a pass-heavy offense, spread out, wide open, and let your playmakers make the plays.
Austin Burton from the gun on 1st down. He's the most run-oriented quarterback on Purdue's depth chart, and he shows the wheels out to the 45 right at the sticks. They mark him a yard shy, and it's 2nd down.
Yeah, when you're Ohio State, you can recruit the top box in the country. When you're Alabama, everybody across the board is 310, 330 pounds on your offensive line, and they're built like Mountain Dean. You can manhandle defensive fronts and run the football the way they do. Purdue doesn't quite have that ability.
Pitch out to Caleb Leahy. He picks up a 1st down, but didn't get a whole lot more than that. Tackle made by Ryan Brandt. Go ahead.
Not saying you can't put out good offensive linemen from Purdue, because historically Purdue has been a great place for offensive linemen to come from.
And I hope you don't mind me pumping your tires a little bit, but I'm sitting next to a guy who came in as a walk-on and turned himself into an 11-year NFL veteran and Pro Bowler. So it doesn't necessarily matter how much you weigh, how tall you are coming out of high school, as Steptoe steps his way through traffic and picks up 9.5.
That is a unique challenge in college football now, is the transfer portal so open. And Purdue and Jeff Brom has talked about looking to that portal to really bolster the offensive line and the defensive line, and they're not going to overlook that. And so when there's a guy out there, they're going to potentially grab him. They actually just signed a guy from Kent State, Daniel Johnson, big athletic tackle, to bring in and help with the depth of this offensive line, and he may get a look at starting right tackle.
Leahy picks up the 1st down on 2nd and short to move the chains for Purdue's offense, closing minutes of the 3rd quarter. Burton, the UCLA transfer, running this drive for Purdue's offense. Burton's 3rd year in the program, and he gives it right back to Leahy, who's stacked up after a gain of 3.
Pistol formation run, which I really like to see. What happens when you have the offset back is it takes so long to get the ball to the ball carrier, and he's not coming downhill with any kind of force. You go in the pistol, and it looks like a traditional offense. So you've got that ability to go left or to go right, and it hits faster and it hits harder, which I think is going to increase, if they can stick with it, increase their 4th down efficiency and their run effectiveness.
Burton takes a shot just a little too far out in front of Andrew Sowinski, the intended receiver. 3rd down.
Close, good shot. Run game, setting up the ability for some bombs down the field, and that's Purdue's game. Just missed him.
Just missed him.
Gonna have to get to that Russell Wilson School of the Rainbow deep ball pass, which Which is funny to see it when you see it in person. It's got this high arc on it, but what it does is it allows the receiver to throttle appropriately. As long as he gets the defender on his back, he's able to throttle if the ball's a little short, or he can step on the gas if it's a little long.
Third down, Burton guns it complete to Maxwell. First down inside the 25.
The ball with a little bit of efficiency here.
Yeah, good to see.
Got the run game going, passing the ball effectively, found some rhythm.
Keep bringing up the run game here, but Jeff Brom told us that if Purdue's offense can gain about 100 yards on the ground per game, they really think this will be an efficient offense in the regular season. Steptoe hauls in another grab and is pushed out of bounds.
Last year they averaged 85 yards on the ground. Over, I think, 20 carries per game. And that's a lot of plays committed to a very average, at best, run game. But what it did do is allow them to take those shots down the field. And when you have Aiden O'Connell at the quarterback position, those shots are critical. He was the most accurate, efficient quarterback in college football last year. Balls thrown 25 yards plus in the air.
Caleb Leahy has been the featured back on this drive. He stumbles inside the 20-yard line. Third down coming up with the third quarter in the books. Purdue's offense showed signs of life in the third. They were scoreless in the first half. 4 touchdowns for Payne Durham's teammates. And some standout plays by the defense as well. Ron English loves it as we head to the fourth quarter. Nick, Purdue's offense got on track in the third quarter.
Yeah, they absolutely did. Finding some touchdowns, manufacturing some passes from wide receivers. But they found some rhythm, got the run game going, opened up the pass. Some accurate passes from the quarterbacks. And they got to feel good about their performance in the third quarter, and they're hoping to ride high coming into the fourth quarter, although I see co-defensive coordinator Mark Hagan down there starting to chew on some ears.
Yeah, tell me a little bit more about co-defensive coordinator Mark Hagan. You're an offensive guy, but it seems like you guys have got some history.
When I walked onto the football team here at Purdue, Mark Hagan was the defensive line coach, and they threw me in his room after they figured out I was too slow to play linebacker at 230 pounds that I was at the time. And Mark Hagan proceeded to give me an ulcer very quickly based on his intensity. Actually, every time he said, "Hardwick, you're in," I threw up before I went in the game.
No way.
Or into practice, yeah.
Well, I'm amazed that you stuck with it, especially given just the way your career started. You were a high school wrestler and didn't play for what was your first 2 years of college at Purdue, right? You walked on as Alimo throws into the end zone just a little bit high, looking for Drew Biber. What kind of got football on your radar as a college athlete?
I was a Marine Corps ROTC scholarship student here at Purdue, and one of the Navy ROTC friends of mine, Frank Avino, it's all in the student newspaper because we didn't have social media at the time. He said, Purdue walk-on tryouts. We got a call. Blaine Bennett was the quarterback's coach, and we went in, we tried out. There was 105 of us, 5 of us made it, 2 stuck around, and it ended up working out really well for me.
Leahy steps through traffic, reaches for the end zone, and is ruled just short inside the 1-yard line. What did your dad say when you called and told him, "Hey, I'm walking out for the football team"?
They thought I was crazy. Both my parents did. My friends thought I was crazy. My dad actually, I think, said, "Son, that's Big Ten football. You can get hurt doing that." And they were the reigning Big Ten champions, right. Went to the Rose Bowl for the first time since 1967. And of course, every kid who played high school football was at the walk-on tryouts. I have no idea why they selected me.
First and goal, Leahy tries to finish what he started, and he is not afforded that chance. Great penetration by Purdue's defensive line. Saw Joe Strickland, the true freshman, in the mix, number 9, along with a host of other white shirts. So you just missed Drew Brees by a season at snapping the football to him at Purdue, but then you, as luck would have it, reunited with him in the pro ranks in San Diego.
In San Diego, that's exactly right. First time I met Drew was over breakfast in San Diego.
to the end zone. Alaimo pass dropped by Maxwell. Good ball by Michael Alaimo, who's already thrown a touchdown in this half for Purdue's offense, and it is 3rd and goal.
That's a great pass. Maxwell's got to bring that one in. He's going to have a tough time sleeping thinking about, even in the spring game, the touchdown pass that he could have caught and should have caught. Now, the first time I met Drew Brees was out at breakfast at Charger Park. And he came and put his hand on my back and he said, "Hey, Boiler." And I looked up and thought, oh my goodness gracious, it's Drew Brees.
That is a really cool story. Alaimo on the quarterback booty, flashed the Tyreek Hill, looking like a cheetah on his way to the end zone. And the celebration du jour that has taken football by storm. So Alaimo's got some wheels.
It's a nice play. Fake the sweep, the dive, Alaimo keep. I was confused. I was watching the wrong guy until you said Alaimo. Excellent job. And they had the tight end come in and block. That was a well-designed, well-executed football play. I love Jeff Brom's creativity. We talked about it just a little bit earlier, but there were certain games last year where he was on fire, and you can feel it when an offensive or a defensive coordinator just has the number that day. And Jeff Brom against Michigan State last year called one of the best games that I've seen called in college football. And it seemed like every time Michigan State was coming back into the game, Brom called out something else. There was a play that they had 4 separate transactions in the backfield. Ended up being a screen to Jackson Anthrop on the left side, and he scored at the far corner of the right end zone with 3 offensive linemen leading the way. Just brilliant play calls and very cool creativity.
40-35. Purdue's defense with a slim margin over the offense, running clock, by the way, in the 4th quarter. This is Purdue's first spring football game since 2019. Good to have this back as part of the offseason program. Nick Hardwick, Emily Eamon, Chris Vosters, the Purdue cheerleaders. Great to be with you.
Let's go, Boilers! Come on, Purdue! Boilers!
Well, this is game 1 of our Big Ten spring football doubleheader today. Nebraska is in action coming up next. We've got live coverage for you right here on the Big Ten Network and the Fox Sports app. Get you out to Lincoln later this afternoon. Big season for the Huskers as well. Scott Frost, they showed signs, I think, of really getting around the corner at the end of last season, but now they got to put together a full season.
And that's the challenge in the Big Ten in particular. It's so strong that the minute momentum starts heading in a different direction, as a coach, as a coaching staff, and as the players, you've really got to do your best to stop that ball and start moving it back in the other direction.
New drive begins for Purdue's offense. 2 running backs set. And Leahy has been a workhorse in the second half today. Covered up on the play by J.P. Dieter, number 94, freshman from Texas.
JP's a guy that I got the chance to go back and watch a little bit of his high school tape. And he's got the frame to be a very good football player here at Purdue. He's an early enrollee as well. Good to see him out making plays. And that looks exactly like one of the plays that I got to watch from his huddle account. Isn't it amazing what you can pull up on these kids now?
Yeah. All digital. Tweeted, retweeted, and liked for your viewing pleasure. Jet sweep, step toe. The freshman. Great blocking upfield by a couple of wide receivers. Alex Maxwell and Drew Biber, who's a tight end, really drove the defensive backfield downfield.
And that's part of the deal, is they're going to get that zone run game going, and then you got those jet sweeps coming back the other way. And with a guy like Zion Steptoe or Deion Burks, who we haven't seen, who are dangerous in space with the football, you've got an opportunity to make big plays. So it's another reason that it's important for Purdue to get the run game going. I know that is a run, but it also sets up some of those bigger plays that you can make.
Allen, the freshman signal caller, under center. Here's Leahy, who's wrapped up just across the line of scrimmage by Suleiman Kaka.
Interesting to see Brady Allen under center. You don't see Purdue under center very often with Jeff Brom. And Brady Allen, I don't know when he was under center in high school. They were all shotgun, all 4 and 5 wide. And so that may be something for him as a learning curve that he's got to get up to speed on. Looked like he was a little hesitant with his footwork from under center.
Allen from the pistol. Slings it for Maxwell, incomplete. He was double covered. Do you think being under center, I'm asking a former center here, is a quarterback under center a dying art, if you will?
It sure seems to, although I think the great quarterback coaches always force their quarterbacks to learn being under center.
You got to still have it in your arsenal.
Yes. I think you need both. I think multiplicity across the board is really important. In all sports, in particular in football, being underneath, being in the gun, being able to work multiple formations, multiple looks, different personnel groups, all of those things challenge the defense in unique ways.
It's third down. Here's Leahy, and the hole is plugged right around the 35-yard line. Yanni Karloftis and Greg Hudgens III in on the stop along the defensive line. I think I saw J.P. Dieter as well.
As an offense, you would hate to be the one, as my coach would always say, every mouse has 2 holes. You know, so if they cut off one, you've got the ability to go another direction. And you don't want to be the offense that, hey, we know this play's coming when they're in this personnel group in this formation.
Fourth down, and Purdue's offense goes for it. Points at stake here for the defense, and a great grab by Steptoe, who tiptoes out of bounds inside the 30-yard line. First down.
Very confident throw there from Brady Allen. Looked like he knew exactly where he was going early on. Got that crossing route from Zion Steptoe, who has quite the performance this spring game.
It's got to be a bonding experience just when you're 2 of 5 early enrollees coming into your first taste of college football. That's got to make you close. Quarterback and wide receiver on the dump down into the flat. A hard hit by Ryan Brandt to knock down the receiver. Was that Humpich? I saw number 46.
Big hit right there. Oh, yeah. Nice job, Ryan Brandt. 3-star kid from Angola, Indiana.
Yeah, that was the hardest hit of the spring game, I think. There have been a lot of wrap-ups, and understandably so, as Leahy bursts through, stays on his feet, and they give that a touchdown.
It's a very determined run from Leahy right there. Taking it right up the middle, little cutback in line, working its way through. We're also going to have some coaches that are upset about some missed tackles and some opportunities down face field that were missed. And a face mask. We don't say and one in football.
No, that's true. That's a great point. That was an and one. Finneran for the point after attempt. Offense leads for the first time today. Under 5 minutes left. 42-40. If you've missed any spring football coverage and want to catch up, the Big Ten Plus app is a great way to do that. And not just for football either. Any Big Ten sport you can follow and track on the Big Ten Plus app. It really is a bigger Big Ten, so download and subscribe today. Great app. All right, so Purdue's offense back in front. Running clock. What do you think you know about this team now as it heads into summer break that maybe you didn't about 2 hours ago? It's hard to tell. I mean, it's a spring game.
It's hard to tell. A lot of guys that aren't out here right now, like a guy in particular that I'm always excited to be around and to watch, Jalen Graham, linebacker. He's a next-level player. He's a guy kind of the mold of a Dayon Buchanan that kind of came in as that safety linebacker. He's got that ability to cover. He's played nickel before. He's worked outside a corner. He's inside as a linebacker. He can get sacks. He can intercept the ball. And as Ron English said, when the ball breaks, you better believe Jalen Graham is chasing that ball and looking to make a play. He's always around. Had the opportunity to go watch some Purdue practices in the summer last year, and I said, who's number 6? He's built differently. He speaks differently. He leads that football team on the defensive side of the ball vocally, and he's a heck of a football player. So it's hard to tell exactly, but you do like to see young guys making plays.
Jack Albers is the quarterback. And that could be Devin Maccabee, the ball carrier. There's only one number 46 listed on the roster, and it's Scotty Humpich, who's a linebacker. There is a running back on the depth chart at number 45, Devin Maccabee, but a carry for 2 there, and it's second down.
Mo Omenode's got to be making some good grades this spring. And with the way the coaching staff has spoken about a couple of plays that I've seen him make out here, coming in, lightly recruited.
Yeah.
Mo from across the street. He looks to be a good football player. And 6 foot tall, I tell you, as an offensive lineman, playing a short guy like that, I thought it was way more challenging than playing a tall guy. You could never get underneath him. So you're limited in the way that you can attack the guy.
Albers finds Buechel, who caught a touchdown pass earlier in the spring game. He is dragged down a yard shy of the first down line, and it's 3rd and short.
So we're going to get a look at a rotating cast of some of these walk-on quarterbacks here. Good that they get some action. Jack getting a completion there. Andrew Hobson coming into the game.
Albers is the holder on special teams and was last year. He's from Louisville. And this is Andrew Hobson, as Nick just mentioned, from Indianapolis, Hamilton Southeastern High School.
Right next door to me. Don't underestimate the importance of a holder now.
No, definitely not.
That's not a job that I would want. Long snapper, holder, kicker, no thank you. Punter, you can sign me up to be a punter.
Really? Want to be a punter?
TV always goes to break on the punts. You shake it, nobody cares.
Hobson on the quarterback keeper and has the ball punched free. It is eventually recovered by Purdue's defense. But a big punch from Ryan Brandt. It's recovered by Antonio Stevens. And that's of note because it gives Purdue's defense the lead.
That's massive. Close fist punch right on the football. Darius Leonard style.
Charles Tillman style.
And that's one thing that Ron English, we spoke about with him, was the amount of turnovers they were able to generate last season. 13 interceptions. I believe it was 4th in the Big Ten. And they want to continue that. Obviously, it keeps you in games. It turns games over. Gives your offense great field position. So to be able to generate turnovers, not only interceptions, but forcing fumbles the way that Ryan Brandt did there. Great importance.
It looks like they're going to give the offense one final crack to win this scrimmage. Kyle Adams, the redshirt sophomore, also from West Lafayette, is the quarterback. Deep middle to Steptoe, pass is complete into Purdue territory. Touchdown by Antonio Stevens. Now there are 10 seconds left on the clock. We'll see if they honor the end of regulation here. Maybe the final play of the spring game. Adams checks down to Biber. Biber's got a blocker in front, but he is tackled at the 25-yard line by Brandt, who forced the turnover that ultimately handed Purdue's defense the win in the Purdue spring game. 45-42, the final. So who says spring football can't be without some drama late?
Come on. I thought for sure Braun was going to call him back for one more play.
Me too.
Hold on, give my offense one more chance. I'm going to rewrite the rules here.
Especially as a former quarterback. But Antonio Stevens, Ryan Brandt with some big plays down the stretch for Purdue's defense. And again, on both sides of the football, Purdue was without many of its 15 returning starters, but that's one of the great things about spring football, a chance for the up-and-comers to show the growth and development that they've made. And I think you can point to some players to watch going forward for Purdue on the depth chart.
Absolutely. On the offensive side of the ball, I'd have to say the MVP was Zion Steptoe.
Yes.
Early enrollee, coming in here. His classmates from high school are still in high school, and here he is at Purdue making plays in the spring game after just a couple of weeks of practice. Really awesome. On the defensive side of the ball, Sidnor and Humpage did a great job.
Down to Emily Eman.
I'm here with Coach Jeff Brom. Coach, you're 28-0 at halftime. You come out and score 42 points. What did you like from your offense most in that second half?
Well, I think that we had some guys missing in this game like every spring practice, but we came out rusty, and defense has played well. We were challenging things. We were doing a good job, and that was good to see. But I do think our offense responded and, dug deep, found a way to make some plays, and that's what you want to see. You want to see some guys step up and emerge and prove that in tough times they can make some plays.
Who do you think stepped up most in this game?
Well, I don't know. I couldn't keep track towards the end. There were a lot of guys that were stepping up. I thought Preston Terrell did a good job. We made some good catches, started to execute a little bit better. And I just think, overall, we got a long ways to go. We've got a tough opponent game one in Penn State, and we're going to have to play much better than this.
With your top 5 receivers out for this game, how do you think the younger guys responded?
Well, it was a rough first half, and, they've worked hard this spring. They've gotten better. We're going to need them at some point in time. Definitely in the second half, they emerged and made more plays, so I was happy to see that. But I think that, he's got to hang in there and play a full game and hope that things go well the entire game, but that's normally not the case. So I just think you have to have a tough team that's resilient and willing to work through it.
Coach, thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
Emily, thank you, and congratulations once again to Purdue head coach Jeff Brom, extended through the 2027 season. We'll be back one more time from West Lafayette. Three-point win for Purdue's defense, and we'll go down to the field one more time to Emily Eman.
I have quarterback Aiden O'Connell with me. Aiden, you just told me you weren't that happy with your performance today. Why was that?
Yeah, I think we just struggled in the first quarter, first half. Didn't have the production we hoped. Definitely didn't want to come out here and score no points, and the first down a lot of minutes. So not a great first half, but offense picked up in the second half. So it was overall a good day, but definitely wish it could have gone a little better.
In that second half, 42 points by you guys. Who picked it up?
A bunch of the young guys starting up front with our young offensive line, and then we got some young playmakers that got to show their stuff a little bit. So I think it was a group effort. It was a lot of fun to watch.
With a lot of those receivers out, who was one receiver in this offseason that you've really worked on that connection with?
That's a good question. I think it's Tyrone Tracy. He's been a kind of do-it-all kind of back and receiver for us, playing out of the backfield and in the slot. So he's been a great playmaker all spring and scored a touchdown today. So watching him's a lot of fun.
You've been with this team for now 6 years. You've been here for the down years, last year's success. How is the feel in the locker room this season?
I think it's just confidence. Confidence, knowing we can go do it. It's not just talking about it, we can do it. But at the same time, I think we're eager to, have another opportunity to prove it. So it's a one-game season, and you got to, prove it every single week. So we're excited for week one.
And thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, Emily, thanks. And a big summer coming up for Aiden O'Connell. He's going to marry his sweetheart, former Purdue volleyball standout J.L. Johnson, who had a great career for head coach Dave Shondell. Nick, the Purdue defense really set the tone in the first half. In particular, Purdue's offense was out of sync.
Yeah, could not find a rhythm, couldn't get the run game going. Interceptions from the defense. They did a really nice job up front, creating pressure, creating turnovers. That's exactly what you want to see if you're Ron English and Mark Hagan. Is that kind of performance from the defense. Swarming to the football, really rallying and hustling.
Next time there's a television crew at Ross-Ade Stadium, it will be dark and it will be packed with Penn State in town to take on Purdue to kickstart the 2022 regular season on September 1st. There's as much anticipation for a Purdue football season as there's been, I think, since you were playing here, my friend.
Yeah, since that 04 season, after the 2003 season where we were 9-4, and Purdue ended up getting ranked in the top 5. And why we pointed to Wisconsin at the open of the show was because the 03 season was the last time that Purdue beat Wisconsin, and that was the turnaround in 04.
Winds of change in West Lafayette, no question about it. More spring football coming your way right now. We'll get you out to Lincoln for the Nebraska spring game. For Emily Eamon and Nick Hardwick, I'm Chris Fosters. Our producer is Bart Fox. Our director is Billy Proctor. Thanks to our outstanding Big Ted Network crew, braving the cold and the chill of spring in West Lafayette. Great to be with you. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. We'll get you out to Lincoln.